Hi everyone, welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for tuning in for the continued coverage here at GoLocal on primary election day. Plenty of coverage on GoLocalProv.com, but now we're going to tap the national experts. Rhode Island native Spencer Sullivan, founder and CEO of Lean Campaign Strategies down inside the Beltway. How are you today?
Good, good. Happy to be on.
Glad to have you on as well. Lots going on this week. I know you've been very busy, but we had New Hampshire's primary, obviously Rhode Island today, and then New York tomorrow. So let's talk a little bit. Let's go sequentially. New Hampshire, there looks like there's an interesting congressional race heating up.
Yeah, I think clearly you can mention Eddie Edwards. You can mention his general election opponent as well, who's going to be the first African-American, could be the first African-American congressman from New Hampshire. So either way, depending on who wins that election, it's going to be kind of a record-breaking election up New Hampshire.
And let's talk, nationally speaking, let's go here to Rhode Island. We're looking at low voter turnout here today, Spencer, and you see races across the country throughout the primaries. What has the trend generally been for primary season so far this year?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, fair question. I think, the turnout is a big deal because, it doesn't matter if a supporter is going to vote for you, but if they don't turn out, then it doesn't really matter. Typically and traditionally, whether you are a Democrat or a Republican candidate, the lower turnout tends to favor the less moderate, more outsider candidate, and here's why. The more moderate candidate, whether you're more moderate Republican or more moderate Democrat, tends to attract more moderate voters, and those voters are not as passionate about the issues or don't have an intensity about the issues to vote on a primary election day as a more base voter does, right? So a low turnout typically does favor a more outsider candidate, but I will say this, a more establishment candidate, whether it be a Gina Raimondo, or any type of more moderate candidate, traditionally has the resources to run a more effective, more efficient early vote program, which can absolutely make or break a close election.
And what about a late vote program, as we're hearing again from around the state here, Spencer, with the numbers again being so suppressed? With all of that money and all of those resources, can you finagle those people between 4 and 8 p.m.?
Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. I think it's fair to say Gina Raimondo spent a lot of money in this. Wing, depending on which way the wave is going, it doesn't matter how much money you can spend or how many voters you talk to. The wave is the wave, right? So it really comes down to who can turn their voters out. And if it's a lower turnout and the weather impacts it, which it certainly sounds like it is, then it's going to benefit more of the outsider candidate.
I mean, really just every other kind of variable aside, Spencer, you've kept tabs on what's happening here in Rhode Island on the Democratic side. Could you see a Matt Brown taking out Gina Raimondo?
Look, I think it's very fair to say that even nationally speaking, neither the Bernie Sanders wing of the party or more the Hillary Clinton wing of the party has really thrown a final punch to each other. Anytime you think the Bernie Sanders wing of the party is dead, then they come out and win with an Alexander Ocasio-Cortez. Then they come out and win with a Presley up in Massachusetts, right? So no, I don't think it's out of the normal, out of the realm to say that Matt Brown could win, especially because she's had to spend over $4 million, and it's pretty easy to say as a Matt Brown progressive candidate to point to kind of some of the missteps that Raimondo has made.
So let's talk a little bit about that. Up in Massachusetts with Presley, I mean, for all intents and purposes, the comparisons, she was running against what was someone with a fairly good approval rating. And we know here the governor has struggled consistently with her approval rating throughout her first term since she was elected. Would that cause pause for the Raimondo campaign? Again, it's not like Presley unseated a deeply unpopular incumbent, But here, the governor continues to struggle with those approval numbers.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think, through the polls, especially the polls that GoLocal has done throughout this campaign season, you can point to the ceiling that Raimondo has. She can only get so many voters. She can only get so high of a favorability rating, right? So I think there's a lot of reasons for the Raimondo campaign to take a pause and really wonder.
Looks like we're having a little issue here. We're going to take a brief pause and be right back here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center.